It's about an hour from Augusta, Charleston, and Columbia. And thanks to old BA, it was once a transportation hub, with trains from 3 large train companies coming and going. Once bustling, Denmark's downtown today is the perfect example of what's happening in the forgotten rural Black Belt, a term once used to label a section of the country known for its dark, rich soil. Now, however, it describes a chain of connecting states known as the nation's largest contiguous thread of poverty. Most of the businesses that were open in Denmark in my father's day are now shuttered. A laundromat is still open, as well as Pools 5 and Dime, a few restaurants and a hardware store, but that's nearly it. The entire area no longer has a hospital. Whether it's Denmark or somewhere else in Alabama or Mississippi, if you had driven through 40 years ago, it would have been pulsing with energy and Black life. The train tracks traveled north, south, east, and west, heading to Chicago, Atlanta, New York City, and Los Angeles. At one time, Denmark had a pickle factory, a Coca-Cola bottling plant, and a furniture manufacturing company. The town was packed with people of all trades: bricklayers, technicians, construction workers, bakers, painters, and cooks, as well as Black businesses of every kind, which is why you had some wealth in a place that's 85% Black. Despite today's extreme poverty in my hometown, significant numbers of educated Black people have always lived in Denmark, especially since 2 historically Black colleges are located there: Denmark Technical College and Voorhees College, where my father was president. All of these things were going for it, but when the tracks got pulled up, politics blew in. People talk about corporations coming in and destroying towns, but I believe that South Carolina was devastated by the 1994 North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA. The textile mills started closing their doors and moving overseas. People started leaving, and with them, all the jobs vanished. In 1990, when I was 6 years old, my father moved our family from Greensboro, North Carolina, back to his hometown of Denmark, from which he had fled more than 20 years earlier. He was the city's prodigal son coming home. If I had been older, our move to this Black rural outpost would have given me pause. But the very thing I should have been wary about is the thing my 6-year-old self loved the most. Everybody knew our name. In South Carolina, Black folk don't ask each other's last name. We ask about kin. And of course, there are many versions of this custom depending on where you're from. For instance, African Americans in the upcountry may say, "What's your people's name?" In Denmark, it's "Who's your people?" It's a very direct question to determine who someone's mother and father and any other relative one might need to know. It helps us determine whether we're blood and possibly even more. It reveals our lineage and background. The custom can easily be traced back to slavery. Slaves were separated from their loved ones and stripped of everything they held dear. So now we're left always searching for a kindred spirit, grasping for home, which is why we call each other cousin or uncle or aunt or sis, even when we're not blood related. As a reluctant little boy moving to a new town, I quickly realized Denmark wasn't unfamiliar territory. Everywhere I turned, someone, child or adult, was telling me, "We're your kin," or "You Bakari, Cleveland Sellers boy," or "You little CL," or "I knew your granddaddy." Denmark was where my roots were planted. It's home. Driving through Denmark's desolate downtown is like looking into a loved one's eyes and no longer seeing a twinkle. The light is dimmed. What once was a sparkle is no longer. Denmark is a microcosm of the forgotten Black South, where isolation, lack of economic development, and substandard housing and school systems have devastated it to its core. What I've seen all my life in Denmark helped me to cultivate my political belief that small businesses are the lifeblood of all communities. Whether you look back at Tulsa's wealthy Black Wall Street of the early 20th century, or the Harlem Renaissance of the 1920s, or the Sellers family in Denmark circa 1950s and 60s, Black people and Black power always meant being able to have economic self-sustainability and access to the ballot box. However, you can see in poor Black towns today that international industry and a globalized economy have left most of us behind. Denmark is now a place where no one can take for granted things such as clean water, a simple Wi-Fi connection, and a local hospital. A country boy's wonderful life. By the time my family arrived in Denmark, my father had already received a graduate degree from Harvard University. Unfortunately, a prison record kept him from getting jobs he deserved. Back in Greensboro, we had lived a strange existence.